StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is most people are wrong about everything. That's the topic. But before we get into the topic, let me remind everybody of two things. First of all, I send out a daily motivation text guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day every day. All you got to do to get that text is join my text community. We'll tell you what your options are for getting messages from me. My number is 305-384-6894. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is the place where I do all my coaching. If I work with anyone directly, I do any type of direct mentoring. It all happens at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description. If you want to work with me directly, there is your opportunity. Don't ever say you weren't given one. Link and the number down below in the description wherever you are consuming this. Now, getting into the topic here today, once again, most people are wrong about everything. I was on this app that many of you formerly knew as Twitter. We now call it X. There were people making these comments about Oprah Winfrey. And I wrote an article about this too, probably back in September of 2023, where Oprah was rumored to, or not rumored, but she did actually state that she wanted to give a $5 to $10 million donation in some way, shape, or form. She was going to give a donation, $5 to $10 million, and it doesn't even matter what it was for. The reason that's not even part of the story, at least for this episode. And people were mad at Oprah and saying negative things towards Oprah or about her. I don't think she heard any of them. Saying negative things about her because the $5 to $10 million that Oprah was pledging to donate is only a small percentage of her reported net worth. Someone posted, and I remember I asked the question because it was posted that Oprah was saying that she was going to give this money, and then she was on a TV show and she was talking about how she got a whole bunch of backlash after saying she was going to give $10 million. And I posted the question and said, well, why are people mad at Oprah for wanting to give $10 million? I mean, it's $10 million more than it would have been in the pot of giving if she hadn't given it. So why is anybody mad about Oprah giving $10 million? And somebody left a comment, and I guess they called themselves being intelligent by saying that Oprah donating $10 million would be like someone who's worth $100,000 donating $35 because Oprah is allegedly worth whatever the number was, $2 billion, $3 billion, whatever the number is that Oprah is allegedly worth. That's equivalent of to $35 to someone who's worth $100K. Now, while that point that this person made, assuming that these numbers are correct, it is mathematically factual that yes, $10 million to someone worth $3 billion or whatever Oprah's number is like $35 to someone worth $100K. But even though it is mathematically factual, it is far from reality for myriad reasons. And facts and reality are not the same thing. Because reality entails an entire picture, whereas a fact can be, you can pick and choose a fact. Or just because you can call something a fact does not mean that's the end of the conversation. So I'm going to use that example here as a frame for what I'm going to explain in today's masterclass. Remember the topic being most people are wrong about pretty much everything, even things that they can state as quote unquote facts. So all you need to be careful throwing around this word fact as if that means you're right. It does not. Let's get into it. Point number one. Everything that most people say that they want, and let's take some general things that most people say they want: success, money, growth, advancement, accomplishment. Most people want all those things, right? Most people are wrong about how to achieve all of them all the time. Most of the things that most people say they want, they are wrong about what they think they know about it, what they claim to know about it, and how to go about it. Success, money, growth, advancement, accomplishment. Most people are wrong about all of those things, even though everybody wants them. Most people are wrong all the time about them. It's not that they're wrong about wanting them. I believe anybody who's, I would venture to claim is not the right word, but let's just use it. Let's just leave it there for now. that everybody listening to this show, you want success, money, growth, advancements, and accomplishment more than you have right now. You're not wrong about wanting it. Is that most people are wrong about how to go about achieving it. This is why almost every person you talk to says they want to be successful, they want to have money, they want to continuously grow, they would like to advance, and they want to accomplish things. Yet most people never do any of the stuff that they're talking about, despite their lifelong desire to achieve it. Any of you ever thought about that? Has any of you ever considered that truth that I just laid out there for you? That many people spend their entire lives wanting success, money, growth, advancement, and accomplishment. Yet, despite their desire and despite multiple years of having this desire, they never actually achieve it. Doesn't that make you curious how so many people could want something for so long yet never get it? I'm eternally curious as to how so many people want certain things, yet most people never achieve these things that they say that they want. Now, is it because they're lying and they don't really want it and they're just saying it because it sounds good? I don't think so. I think most people who talk about wanting these things do actually want them. I think they really do want these things. I think the reason why many people don't achieve them is simply because they don't know how to achieve them. They think they know. And if you ask them, well, what's your plan for achieving X? They'll tell you something, yet their plan is not working. They're not getting to the thing that they want. And trust me, I'm a person who talks to a lot of people. I talk to people who come through my universities and coaching programs. I talk to people who read my books. I talk to people who get my text messages. I go to conferences, and every conference I go to, I talk to at least 100 people every conference that I go to. So I don't go to a conference, stand on a wall, sit in the back, not talk to anybody, and go home. I actually talk to the people. So I'm bringing that up to say, I talk to forward-thinking people who are trying to get better. My whole brand is called Work on Your Game. Right? This is personal and professional development. So you're not coming around me and talking to me unless you are somehow, some way looking to personally or professionally develop yourself and advance. So I'm not talking to just a random mixture of human beings. I'm talking to people who are actually trying to get better. And even these people who are trying to get better, they're getting my text messages, which is again, I ain't sending you jokes. I'm sending you daily motivation. I'm sending you stuff that's going to help you think on a higher level and be more sharp, focusing on point, so you can go out there and do your thing. I'm writing books. I'm making podcast episodes. It's not like, again, I'm not giving you some entertainment. This is personal and professional development. So I'm attracting a certain type of person. You got to have a certain mindset to even come around here. Even these people who I'm talking about, you people who I'm talking to right now, fit this description. They want these things all their lives, yet they don't achieve it. How is this? I'm internally curious as to how this happens. The topic of today's masterclass is the answer to that question. We're going to get into why this is. Most people, the answer is the actual topic. Most people are wrong about damn near everything. This is why you should never want to find yourself on the same side as the majority of people on most subjects. Why? Let me say it even more plainly. All right, most people are idiots and don't even know what they're talking about. Yet the internet has given everyone a platform to speak incessantly and whenever the urge hits them. Let me say that sentence again. Most people are idiots when it comes to things like growth, success, advancement, and accomplishment. When it comes to those areas, most people have no idea what they're talking about. And if you want to know someone knows what they're talking about, look at their results in the area in which they speak. If they don't have any results in an area, you shouldn't listen to what they have to say. Period. And that applies to not just random people on the internet who you could easily dismiss because you don't know them, right? It also applies to people who you know personally. This applies to your friends. It applies to your parents. It applies to your school teachers. It applies to your friends. It applies to people who you follow on social media because you like them, you have affinity for them for whatever reason. Just because you have some positive personal reason to like a person does not mean you should accept everything they have to say on a certain subject, especially if you cannot see that they have actual results in that area. Most people are idiots when it comes to growth and advancement, don't know what they're talking about, yet the internet has given everyone a platform from which they can talk as much as they want. But that's a different topic for a different day. Most people's idea of creating success, making money, achieving in life, success, money, achievement, is that they should just keep doing the same things they're already doing and hope that things eventually work out. All right, this is the formula I just described. Many of you's formula who's listening to me right now. Again, let's not talk about most people. All right, let's just have a conversation here. I describe most of your formulas who is listening to my voice right now. Let me explain the formula again. This is your formula that I'm telling you. Keep doing the same things that you're already doing and hope that things eventually work out. That's the formula. That's it. That's the whole formula that most people operate by. This rarely works. And this is why most people don't have any of the things that we just said: money, growth, success, advancement, and accomplishment. And even when it does work, here's the more pernicious part of this: even when this does work and people achieve success, or at least they think it works, people, yeah, there's actually more accurate ways to say it. People think that it works. Then they go and preach to everybody, well, look, all I did was, and then they say, I just kept doing the same stuff over and over again, and it eventually worked out. There is a time and a place for persistence and discipline and the same thing, the same way every time. I mean, on this show, I've done several episodes on those subjects. I've devoted hours to talking about those exact points. However, it's not everywhere. And it rarely works that if you just keep doing the same stuff over and over again, if it's not already producing results, that dramatically it just starts producing results. This is why many people don't achieve success. So, as a disclaimer here before we move on, be very wary of listening to the average person regarding acquisition of any of the above attributes. Again, money, success, growth, accomplishment, and achievement. Point number two. Today's topic, once again, is most people are wrong about everything. Number two, at their core, the main difference between successful people and everybody else. You want to know the main difference between a successful person and everyone else in the world? Would you like to know what it is? All right, I'm going to tell you in a second, but I just want to make sure you understand what I'm about to give you here. So this is something that you might want to burn on your brain, write down. Whatever you've been doing, you can pause it and make sure you get what I'm about to tell you. Because at their core, there is one main difference between people who are successful and everybody else who is less than successful. And when I say successful, we're usually talking about around 5% of the population. That's one out of every 20 people. The main difference between them and everyone else, you want to know what it is? Here it is: mindset. The way that they think. So when I say mindset, that's what I mean. The way that the person thinks, the way that their mind is set to operate. That's what mindset means. The way your mind is set to work. Everybody follow me? Your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions. So if you're trying to figure out why someone is taking certain actions that appear to not make sense to you, you need to dig into how that person is thinking. And you can't read a person's thoughts, right? We don't have the ability to read somebody's minds. So how do you know how somebody is thinking? Well, you never truly know, but the closest you can get to understanding how another person thinks is to listen to them speak, because our thoughts are usually reflected in our words. You can't say things that you can't say things that are not a reflection of what's going on in your brain. Doesn't mean everything that you say is 100% of what's going on in your brain, but you can't say something that has not occurred in your brain at some point. Now, there's a joke you could throw in there somewhere about people who speak without thinking, but you get the general point of what I'm saying here, right? You can't say something that is not already in your brain. Now, you can think things that you never say, but you cannot say something that you have never thought. Everybody understand? So, if you want to get the closest you can get, rather, to understanding a person's thought pattern is to understand their words and listen to what they say, because, again, words are a reflection of thoughts and actions are a reflection of words. Usually they act in a way that is reflective of the way that they speak. So look at somebody's actions, you get a pretty good idea how they talk. And good thing is you can observe both of those. So the whole point here is anytime someone's actions seem to not make sense to you, listen to them talk, and then it'll make sense, because how they talk is telling you exactly why they're taking the actions that they're taking. And we don't have the ability to read people's minds. So following someone's words is about as close as you can get to understanding their thought process. Everybody get it? So be careful when you try to assign a thought to a person, because that's kind of impossible, because you never really know. So this idea, going back to the Oprah example, this idea that Oprah Winfrey, because she's worth whatever, billions of dollars, the idea that $10 million to her is the same as $35 to someone who's worth 100K. That's a ridiculous idea. Let me tell you why this is a ridiculous idea. Because $35, the way that the person who said this, the way that they framed this, and again, I'm just judging off their words, makes $35 seem like this small amount of money that you don't have to think hard about. $35. $35 is not an amount of money that a reasonable person would consider to be significant, right? You wouldn't take somebody to court over $35. Right? It's not a significant amount of money. It's not money that you would just drop on the ground and not pick it up, but it's not a significant amount of money that is life altering. Right? Can we all generally agree on that for the most part? Those in Western society, those of you with smartphones, $35 is not a lot of money. Right? $10 million, however, is not $35. I don't care how much money you have. Now, I don't know if any of you knows anyone who has access to $10 million, but let's just do a thought experiment here. How many of you, regardless of how much money you had, would ever spend $10 million as if the same way that you would spend $35 today? Like $35 might be you and your son or daughter going to the movies. All right, you'll spend $35 just on the tickets and some concessions, right? You spend more than $35 just on that alone. All right, you're not going to think twice about it. You're not going to be brokenhearted over it. You don't need to go talk to your accountant about it. $10 million? Okay, would you spend that the same way? Again, I don't care how much money you have. And let's think about something else. You don't become a billionaire, as Oprah Winfrey is, by looking at $10 million the same way that a 100,000aire will look at $35. Would you agree? Person who's worth $100,000 will go to the movies and spend $60 on movie tickets and popcorn and candy and soda, right? Now, will someone who's worth billions of dollars just toss out $10 million the same way a 100,000aire would toss out $35? What do you think? Again, I'm not asking you what you know. I'm asking you what you think. Now, you don't have to be a billionaire to answer the question. What do you think? If you believe, anybody who will believe that a billionaire will look at $5 or $10 million the same way today that, let's say, you or I would look at $35, go ask a billionaire to give you $5 or $10 million. I mean, if that's the case, go ask a billionaire to give you $10 million. I mean, $35 is nothing. You could go to the movies and pay for you and your daughter to go to see a movie. Then it wouldn't be nothing for that billionaire to give you $5 to $10 million. I mean, they got it right. I mean, their net worth is X, whatever you Google. Ask a billionaire to give you $5 million. It should be relatively easy if that were the case. And we know that that's not the case. Here's the point. Oprah Winfrey, as a reported billionaire, I have no idea how much Oprah Winfrey actually has. And by the way, net worth does not mean that's how much money you have in the bank. Side note, we don't need to get into that. Oprah Winfrey, as a billionaire, does not look at money the same way that someone who's worth $100,000 looks at money. And we agree. Again, you don't have to be a billionaire or even worth $100,000 to understand this, because $100,000 and $1 billion are completely different amounts of money. Everybody understand this? So in order to be a billionaire, you got to look at money differently than someone who has $100,000 to their name looks at money. Would you agree? I keep asking these questions here because I'm trying to bring you along the path here to understand that $1 billion and $100,000 are significantly different amounts of money. Therefore, the person who's worth $100,000 has a different outlook on money than the person who's worth $1 billion. That's why one is worth $1 billion and one is worth $100,000. If they looked at money the same way, they would probably have close to the same amount. See, the $100,000 mindset does not look at money the same way that the $1 billion mindset looks at money. So these neat analogies, $10 million to this person is like $35 to that person. No, it's not. See, that sounds good when you're down there looking up at what everybody else has. It sounds good, but it doesn't add up. See, this is why people who are so good at bringing up these cheap, neat, silly analogies, they never actually ascend to the levels of the people that they are so good at counting money for. See, people could tell you what this amount of money is like for a person who's a billionaire, but these people can never ascend to levels anywhere close to that, simply because their mindsets are still based on this small level. See, if your mindset is based on, well, 10 million for her is like $35 for this person, then it's always going to be $35 for you, a literal $35 for you, because you still had the mindset of the smaller person. See, to get to that higher level, you got to look at things differently. The challenge is most people keep looking at things in this small way, and it's the reason why many people stay small. And we're just using Oprah here as an example because me seeing that on social media is what got me thinking about this here today. But you can apply this framework-wise to basically anything that you do. The same way you could apply what some street ball guy does compared to what some guy playing in the NBA does, or you can compare what somebody who's working in the federal government compared to someone who's working in the local chamber of commerce in some small town with 10,000 people. They are both politicians, but they got completely different jobs of completely different magnitudes. They do not think the same way. You can't do things the same way in some small podunk town in middle America working in the government as you would working in the federal government in Washington, D.C. Why? Because they're completely different jobs. Even though they're quote unquote the same, you're still doing the job. It's still politics. It's still public service. You can't think the same way in DC that you would think in working in some small town. You can't, because they're different roles. And you can't get to the role in DC with the same thinking that got you to the role in that small town. Same thing with $100,000 to $1 billion. Same thing with playing at the local Equinox every Tuesday and Thursday in some rec league that you paid $100 to be in the league to playing for the New York Knicks with $100 million contract. You can't think the same way, and you can't get from point A to point B with the same mindset. You can't get to point B with the same mindset that got you to point A. And this is the reason why many people never grow and get better in life, because I already did several episodes on the show, and many times I've explained to you how and why most people in life do not change. They get a certain mindset that gets them to a certain level, and they stay in that mindset the rest of their lives, working really hard, and then wondering why they can't advance. Why? Because your mindset hasn't changed. Not your skill set, your mindset. You're still thinking the same way. So no matter what you do, no matter what information you come across, if your mindset stays the same, you're going to stay in the same spot. This is how life works. This is why the foundation of everything we do and work on your game is about mindset. We can build on mindset with skills, with tools, with strategies, with processes, with systems, and all of the other how-to stuff that many of you get very caught up in. But until you change the mindset, all that how-to is going to do shit for you. Many of you are overflowing with how-to. You haven't changed your mindset at all. You're wondering why all this how-to stuff that you have invested in is not quote-unquote working, because your mindset's the same. Your mindset hasn't changed. That's why you're still stuck in the same spot, despite having access to all this information and all these tools and all these people who seem to be doing this and that and third. I remember I was talking to somebody. I know who this person is. I'm not going to say their name, but I remember I was talking to someone a couple years back, and they were hanging around. We were talking business, and this person is running their business. So it's three people in this little scenario. So it's me. I'm talking to this person who was running their business, who their business wasn't doing much at the time. And then there was this other guy, and this other guy's business appeared to be doing pretty well. This guy was doing, he's launching products and programs and stuff like that. He's making 20, 30, $40,000 every time he launches something. So he's doing his thing, whatever his thing happened to be, this individual. So I remember I was talking to this other person, and they were telling me that they were always hanging out with this guy, not hanging out, but like what's the word? Conversing with this guy, and this guy's telling them what they're doing, and he's got this launch going on, he's making this much money, he's doing this and that and the third. And this person was telling me, like, yeah, I've been talking to this guy, and he just did another launch. He made 25,000. He made 40,000 on the last one. So I'm gonna be doing some stuff with him and this and that. And I said, all right, cool. And I was hoping, because this person was a friend of mine, I was hoping that whatever they did with that person, it actually did work, and they started making the money that they wanted to make. The problem was, I didn't say this to this person because they didn't ask me, so it really wasn't my place. We were talking more as friends than like as client, coach, or anything like that. They were not my client. So I didn't say anything, but there was a thought in my head the whole time they were saying what they were saying. That thought's still in my head to this very day. I don't know where this person is, what they're up to now business-wise. Next time I talk to them, I'll find out and give you an update if I remember. But the issue for this person was and maybe is the same issue, is that it doesn't matter if you get all the how-to from this guy who's making $25,000, $40,000 per launch. If you don't change your mindset, because I knew what this person's mindset was, I had spoken to them enough, again, to understand their words, so I know what's going on in their head. I said, this person doesn't have the mindset to make $25,000 in a launch. They don't have the mindset to make $40,000 in a launch. The person who was hanging with the person who was doing it. Now, this guy, he had the mindset because he was doing it. But this person who was going to work with them didn't have the mindset. Like they can't wrap their mind around making that kind of money in a launch, or even doing what's necessary to make that kind of money in a launch. They don't have the mindset to do it. I'd spoken to them enough to know what was going on in their head, or at least to know some of what was going on in their head. It's not going to work. And last I checked, it didn't work. The whole point is, until you change your mindset, the skill set doesn't matter, honestly. Like, your skill set is locked up by your mindset. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is most people are wrong about pretty much everything, at least everything when it comes to success. Now, there was another guy on X, because in this whole Oprah conversation, I was engaging with some people on X, and he replied to something else that I had said. And we exchanged a couple back and forth. He said something, I said something, he said something, I said something. So we're going back and forth, right? And we're disagreeing on a certain point. And this gentleman said to me, here's what he said. He said, look, a bunch of other people are disagreeing with you too. So whatever our point of disagreement was, he was saying to me, well, look, a bunch of other people also disagree with you on the same point that you had made, in which we were exchanging. And he said, that's proof that that's talking to me, that's proof that you, Dre, are wrong. This is what this individual said to me. This right here is the framework of average person thinking. And this is the way most people think as a general rule. So again, he was telling me that I must be wrong because a bunch of people were disagreeing with my point of view. That was his assertion. And this is a great reflection of the failure of the educational system in the United States of America and the failure of critical thinking just in general amongst human beings. Many people, remember what today's topic is. Most people are wrong about pretty much everything. Many people see it as a positive that other people think, talk, and act just like them. They look around, they see other people holding the same opinions as them, saying the same things that they're saying, and doing the same things that they're doing, and they consider that a positive, a win, a success. This is wrong, folks. That's the opposite. That's the opposite of what it is. That's actually a failure. When you look around and you see a bunch of other people thinking, talking, and acting just like you should be alarmed and concerned, and you should panic. That's what you should do. You should not be happy and look at that as validation of your behavior. No, you should look at that as a condemnation of your behavior. When a bunch of other people are doing the same thing and thinking the same thing and talking the same way as you. When I see everyone around me doing the same thing as me and thinking the same as me, I change up my process immediately. I'm like, how the hell did I end up in this place with all these average mofos doing the same thing that they're doing and thinking the same way that they're thinking? I actually very rarely do I find myself thinking and talking like most people. I'm pretty good at articulating to where I don't fall into that trap very often. I can't remember the last time that happened. But as far as behaviors, sometimes I may end up doing things that I notice other people are doing the same things. I change that immediately. Immediately, like this can't happen. I don't have too much in common with most people. I don't want to have too much in common with most people. Behavior wise, I do not. Give you an example. In basketball, I made a video over a decade ago. This is probably maybe a decade and a half ago. And I was explaining to basketball players who wanted to get ahead of the competition. Because players always ask me, how can I get better? How can I make the team? How can I play in college? Et cetera, et cetera. Those of you who don't know how the sports world works, the funnel of the sports world, how it shakes out. About 3% of high school players play college ball. About 1% of college players play pro ball. So 3 out of every 100 high school players get to play college rather. 3 out of every 100 high school players play in college. 1 out of every 100 college players play pro. So if you're playing in high school and you want to play in college, you better be doing something different than most of the players around you. If you were in college and you want to play pro, you better be doing something different than most of the players around you because 99 of y'all ain't making it. Okay, so with that frame in place, let me tell you what I used to say to players. What are you doing that nobody else is doing as a player? What are you doing as a player that nobody else around you is doing? What are you doing none of your own teammates are doing? What are you doing that nobody else in your city, in your district, in your town are doing to get yourself ahead as a player? How often do you find yourself working out, practicing, and nobody else is working out next to you? What are you doing to make yourself better that you don't see any other players doing the same thing? These are rhetorical questions I would ask the basketball players. This is a rhetorical question I ask to all of you who's listening to this right now. You want to get ahead of the competition, your peers, and you should want to because most of your peers ain't going to the place that you think you're going to get to. Remember, 5%. I told you the 5, 15, 80 rule. If you did not hear that episode, let me give you that episode so all of you can go and listen to it yourself. That was episode number, if I can find it. Episode number 2442, the 5, 15, 80 rule. In life, in pretty much every category, this is how it works out. About 5% become wildly successful, 15% are about average, and 80% are doing pretty much nothing. 5 become wildly successful, 15 are good. They're above average. They're good. Let's just call it that. And 80% are average, below average, and complete trash. And you ask anybody, do you want to be average? Most people say no. Most of you in my world, all of you would say no. 100% of you would say no. I would never be part of 80%. I want to be part of the 5 or at least part of the 15. Well, understand 5 and 15 only add up to 20. That's 1 out of every 5. Make it. Everybody understand? So anyway, I would give these rhetorical questions. What are you doing nobody else is doing? How often are you preparing and getting ready when nobody else is? What are you doing to make yourself better that nobody else around you is doing? You can't point out anything. You cannot answer these questions. That will explain why you're not making progress relative to your competition. That explains why you're still average. Despite the fact that you don't want to be average, I just explained to you why you are still average because you're not doing anything that will move you out of Averageville. You're living in Averageville and you're not doing anything to get out of there. As I've already told you, most people are wrong about pretty much everything. So anytime you're amongst a random selection of human beings, you probably don't want to agree with them on too many things. All right, this is just how it works. I was at this event that I was at last week. I would go to it was at a big resort. So the event started at about 8 o'clock every day. So I would go to the gym at the resort, and everybody would go to the gym pretty early, around 6 o'clock. We all go get our workout in, and you go get showered, dressed, all of that stuff, eat breakfast, whatever people do, and then get to the venue. So around 6 o'clock every day when I would go to the gym, it'd be a crowd there, it'd be a whole lot of people in the gym, and it is abnormal for me because usually when I go to the gym, I don't want there to be too many people in the gym because I like to go at off peak times when most people are not there. And at this particular event, because of the situation, everybody would be at the gym at the same time I was going to the gym, which is okay. I kind of could laugh at it and enjoy it simply because I knew it was temporary. That if all of us was living at that resort and this was just everyday life, I would adjust my schedule to where I was getting my workout in when that gym was damn near empty. Because I don't want to find myself having too much in common with most people. Now you might be saying, well, Dre, what does it matter? You work out for 30 minutes, whether you do it at 4 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 10 in the morning, or 2 in the afternoon, it's still a workout. A workout is a workout, right? What the hell is the difference? Well, yes, that's the thing the average person thinks. You see, that getting it in early then allow me to do other things early. Then allow me to do other things, and allow me to do other things. And it also gives me a mental edge that matters to me to separate me from everyone else. And you might be wondering, well, does it really, really make a difference? Well, look around. Look around at the people who are exceptional when it comes to their performance. Do you notice that they are doing things differently than everybody else? I mean, think about it. Look around. If you don't know, if you're not sure, go look around and see what you can find. You don't want to find yourself on the same side as most people. Why? Because most people, by definition, are average. You don't want to be agreeing with people on too many things thought wise. Whether you want to share your disagreement with other people out loud or not, like something that I'm willing to do, that's your choice. But you need to know what's going on in your mind. Robert Greene talks about this in the 48 Laws of Power, that you may pretend to behave like other people or think like you wish, but behave like other people, so as to not shake the tree too much. If you don't want to go against the grain too much or not do so obviously, there are times politically when that makes sense. And there are times when you got to pretend to go with the grain, even though you are completely against it. And in certain arenas, you need to do that. But there are other arenas in which, and there are ways you can position yourself in life in which it doesn't matter. If you go with everybody else, you can go against the grain. If they don't like it, so what? There's nothing they can do about it. Anyway, the whole point is you don't want to find yourself in too much agreement with too much of everybody else. As an athlete myself, I like to get my workouts in early because it was a discipline that built in me the mindset of I'm going to get this workout in early. I'm going to get everything taken care of early in the day. Getting up early is the discipline. Uh, Positioning myself, steeling myself mentally to be ready to go and get that workout in, that separated me. It also gave me an advantage of having access to the gym when I knew it wouldn't be a crowd of people in the gym. I didn't have to dodge around other players in order to get my work in on my own game. And that led to other opportunities and other opportunities. One of the reasons why I was able to make thousands of videos because there was never anybody in my way when I went to the gym. And I could set my camera up in complete peace and do my workouts. All right, that was a byproduct of it. The whole point is it was part of my mindset to make sure I was doing what they weren't doing. This is why I did a whole lot of off the court training as well as on the court training. So my body was always in great physical shape. So I could run and jump and have strength more than the average player. Most players who I knew of, they worked on their games, but their work on their game was always on the court. They only did on the court stuff. They didn't do nearly the stuff that I was doing, as much stuff as I was doing off the court. So that was another edge I was looking for. So I would look at what everybody else was doing just so I could see where my advantages were at. Let's recap today's class, which is most people are wrong about pretty much everything. So this whole framework conversation that people say, well, to a person who's worth X amount of money, someone who's worth whatever y'all consider to be a lot of money, uh, $1 million to them is only like $35 to somebody else and something like that. That framework of a point is not actually a good point. It's an average person's thought process, and it is mathematically accurate, mathematically factual, but it's far from reality. Point number one: everything most people say that they want, success, money, growth, advancement, and accomplishment, most people are wrong about all of it damn near all the time. They're not wrong about wanting it, but they're wrong about how to go about achieving it. This is why most people don't have it. I mean, look at their lives and you can see it. Number two, At their core, the main difference between successful people and everybody else is mindset. The actions follow the mindset. Yes, they do things differently, but they think differently. That's the reason why they do things differently. Because again, thoughts lead to words and words to actions. You cannot read thoughts, but you can look at anybody's actions. You can look at anything that people say, and it will tell you a whole lot about what's going on in their heads. Point number three, another guy had replied to me and said, he said, well, look, a bunch of other people disagree with you. That's proof that you're wrong. All right, this is average person thinking. And if you ever find yourself thinking this way, then you are an average individual. A bunch of people agree with me, so that means I'm right. Or a bunch of people disagree with me, so that means I'm wrong. Or you can take out I and you can swap in your. All right, this is average people thinking. All right, average people want to be on the side of the majority and they want to look around and see other people thinking and acting the same as they do. All right, above average people, these are usually the successful people, the people who do things differently than the average. They look around and they are looking to specifically make sure that they don't have too much in common with everyone else, quote unquote, everyone else, whoever that is. And whereas it's interesting, you'll find that most average people, they are looking to have things in common with everybody else. So you need to check yourself and ask yourself, which group are you in? All that said, text me so you can get my daily motivation text that I send out every day. My number is 305-384-6894. Guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to work with me directly. You want to get yourself out of this average thinking mindset and undo a whole lot of the nonsense you've been taught all your life and that you have grown to believe and reinforce. We can fix it. And it won't take as much time to undo it as it took for you to learn it. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all